everybody. Welcome to This Course, the only podcast that is still regularly pirated in Poland, which we don't fully understand. This is free.
Hey guys, it's Chad Smith, the chairman and speaker of the board for the Interdominal Board of Sugar Steerers.
The fuck is a sugar steerer?
I'm gonna tell you in a second.
Also, I can't keep this up forever. I'm not going to do that.
That's fine. I just wanted to get something out of the way real quick before we really jump into it. We just set up the Twitter. We got a Twitter now, so welcome to the 21st century.
Follow us, This Course Pod at twitter.com.
That's right, and don't forget the @. Grandpa over here, fucking no beard over here is
at This Course Pod.
He's having trouble. He's having trouble adjusting to the 21st century. Back in my day,
I'm the one with all the equipment.
Yeah, and the sails, and the poop deck, and the plank, and the barnacles, and whatever other nautical terms you can think of. But
the real journey along the way was the mateys we made.
He said he couldn't keep it up, but here he is, keeping it up.
The real prize, was the mateys we made along the. I'm fucking this up.
Mateys.
How's it going?
We're just hanging out, man.
Yeah.
We haven't done this in a little bit. You know, I just got back from Denver. Well, really other states as well, not just the state of Denver, the free state of Denver. But
People's Republic of Denver.
That's right. I was on a little botany tour, and that will become important later on. So stash that in your stash box and pull it out when I tell you to pull it out. But yeah, a lot of people have been hitting me up on the Twitter. They've been sending me DMs because they know I'm doing the Twitter, that I set it up, and that I'm very popular, and that my co-host is slightly less popular, but still very popular.
How many friends do you have on Facebook?
6,666. Hey, Zuckerberg let me go over the 5,000 limit, specifically because we're buds like that, you know. I met him at a.
Y'all are tight, but like me and his wife are tighter, so.
Yeah, your butthole is probably tighter when she's pegging you.
That would make it looser. Your logic is bad. Your insults need work.
I never claimed to be smart. I just claimed to be here at the podcast, which, by the way, is not a political podcast.
What are we?
Well, I'll tell you. This is a podcast about spiritual healing. Spiritual healing through natural healing and holistic medicine. The use of herbs to cure your bunions, you know, take a satchel of lavender, put it on your feet. If you've been working 12-hour shifts, put it on your feet. Don't take a shower.
We are one of those podcasts that absolutely advocates shoving incense up the butts of infants.
And not taking a shower.
Right.
So, if you know, we might get political in this episode. I imagine we will.
There are political leanings within.
How can I not? But really, when you're listening to this, what you need to keep in mind is that we love to just take witch hazel and boof it. And we suggest you do the same.
It's free if you do it that way.
It is free.
Yeah.
Because you stole it from the store and put it in your ass.
Right. That's why it's free.
So in recent news, and I don't know if my co-host has any business, but I just wanted to say that Mr. Donald has gone to the great Rumsfeld in the sky.
Oh, that was a good one.
A special hell made only for him, concocted by the Interdominal Board of Sugar Steerers, of which, of course, I am a member. In the sugarcane fields, he is required to meet a quota, and in return, he is allowed to remove a special sentient, self-replicating belly button foam that grows in mass and stench with the passing of time in his vile and putrid navel. Not only is the foam a unique and technologically advanced marvel of biotechnology in its own right, absent of the delightfully torturous accoutrements added by the steerers, yours truly, of course. It's annoying as hell, but it's engineered to release a slightly itchy metabolite, which is the converted product of his disgusting war pig skin grease. And to crown this particularly loathsome cake with a maddening cherry, the foam also sings "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" on repeat, should he fail to meet his quota. His only reprieve and chance to remove the foam before he must try to sleep through its terrible racket and mildly inconvenient itching is to subject himself to a Joe Rogan-era Fear Factor type panel of unknown unknowns eating challenge. Good luck, Donnie. You'll need it for all of eternity. We love you, buddy.
So just to break character for a second, not that I have a character, but I did not know where you were going with that, and I'm glad that that's where it was, because I read that little spiel a few days ago whenever you wrote it and put it on the interwebs, and I loved it.
What are you talking about?
Your very, very famous best-selling book that is in the form of a Facebook page.
That's true. I do have a Pulitzer. The funny thing about the Pulitzer is that they didn't let me have it on stage because I was actually fighting with what's his name? Stephen Patterson.
Yeah,
is that his name? Guy. Okay, he came up before me to accept the prize of I think it was best book that nobody gives a shit about, but still buys.
That is a thing he would do. I love that guy. I know him.
Yeah, he's a famous writer, and he did win that award.
And I do know him.
And so you know him.
That's what I keep saying.
I don't know him.
You
but
should. He's a very noble guy.
I interrupted him. You know, have you ever heard of a man named Kanye
Yeah,
West?
so you pulled a Kanye on him.
Right. I was inspired, and I had to do it. And I got up there, and I was like, I'm going to let you finish. I'm going to let you finish. And then I literally just did an armpit fart on stage. And, like, everybody was laughing. And then he came at me, and I came at him, but, like, in a different way. Not
Gross.
sexual.
Oh.
I literally came at him verbally. Okay? And so, I was fucking with this guy. And they thought I don't know, they tried to separate us. Anyway, it doesn't really matter, but, I mean... Sorry, my co-host fumbled his what are they called? Benihana eggs?
Benoit balls.
Yeah, they dropped out of his bussy, so I had to pick him up for him. Anyway, so when I got up there at the Pulitzer Prizes, you know, I got up there and they were like, they're handing me this award, and they were afraid that I was gonna bludgeon what's his name, Joyce Patterson? No. Whatever the writer's name. See, I don't know if you know him.
I don't know.
He's your boy. Why don't you come get him? So I, you know, they didn't want me to, like, you know, kill him or anything. So they sent me home with it after, and, you know, I got so fucking pissed off and pissed drunk that I was like, well, fine, I'm just gonna use this as toilet paper. And
you used a metal statue as toilet paper?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, and I've been doing it for, when was that? When I started the page, like 3 years ago.
Oh, so you've been doing it since your third Oscar, Jesus.
Yeah, that's what they're called, Oscars. I'm a triple threat: Pulitzer Prize, Oscars, and Tonys? ? Not those Tonys, though. It's a different.
It's Tony
type of
with
Tony.
a tilde on top.
Tony.
Yeah.
Or maybe Tonye.
Like Kanye.
Right.
All right,
and we've come full circle.
We're going off on like 12 tangents.
Keep up, folks.
So you just came back from Denver.
Yeah, man. I saw a lot of really cool plants, honestly. You know, sunflowers actually grow out there wild. They're not as big as the ones you might see, like...
I mean, that sounds interesting, but I grew up around wild sunflowers when I was a kid.
Whatever, dude. He's trying to steal my fucking thunder. Okay, how about this? I saw my first ever milkweed.
Oh, neat.
I did milk it for the weed because I was in Colorado. So what's crazy is, you know, milkweed doesn't really... We have species here in Arkansas, specifically the vicinity of the Little Italy studios. But they're boring and shitty, and they just look like any other plant. And they're hard. They're rare, to be sure, but they're you can easily miss them. The thing I loved, I think, the most about the biodiversity out there is that you're not only are you getting your classic asters, which are fucking all over the place, you're getting this particular flower that I thought was particularly beautiful. It was Asclepias speciosa.
Oh, Sclopio Pipio. I know that one.
Yeah, boopity boppity. I know some of our listeners literally just screamed when I said speciosa.
Oh, are we doing ASMR now?
We could pivot.
Let's not.
I want to do that.
It's
So why
just
wouldn't you let me?
mildly creepy.
But it's also mildly sexy, which is kind of the point.
Yeah. By the way, Sclopio Pipio wasn't entirely gibberish. That's actually the name of a TV show that nobody watched, but I love.
The fuck? That can't be the name of it.
Brad Neely's Harg.
Oh, he's
Nolan,
from Arkansas, right?
Sclopio Pipio.
Is
Yeah,
he from Arkansas?
I just found that out like recently.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But he is. Yeah.
Shout out to Brad Neely. Oh shit! You know what I forgot? Shout out to a one Miss DeMay. Recently talked to her. She was at my house. We were grilling. And she's real cool. And that's Ryan's stepmom, my roommate Ryan.
She a Mrs.?
She's married, bro. Chill.
That's what I was asking, and you answered my question. Thank you.
She is really nice, really cool, and she asks for a shout out.
How are you gonna tell me she's really nice and really cool, and then be offended when I ask if she's single? How's that logic work out?
I don't know. Listen, the whole Miss MRS MS thing.
Yeah, that's total old school misogyny. But
look
I'm
at this
still
woke
curious.
guy. I was gonna say something way more toxic, but I'll save it for later.
For when Mrs. behind closed doors.
Yeah, because why would I say something toxic on the fucking cast, bro?
True. I don't know.
Duh.
For the lulz?
What is this, 2011? You say for the lulz. What is this, 2006? What do you want, an image board named 4chan? Get the fuck out of here.
So you did a botany excursion out in Colorado?
Yeah, and New Mexico and Texas and
Oh, really?
Kansas.
I thought you just went to Colorado.
I went all over, man. I went to
Cool.
the botanical gardens in Kansas. I went to an arboretum owned by the Dixie Chicks. Well, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks.
Owned by the
now,
Chicks.
Of course, known as the Chicks. And we love a woke name change, recent name change. Like Andrew Jackson Jihad. Why would you change your name from Andrew Jackson Jihad to AJJ when you're not punching up? You're not punching down, punching up, because everybody knows Andrew Jackson, huge piece of shit.
Pretty sure Andrew Jackson Jihad is a socially acceptable name because, like, in the name, you're saying that he sucks and you hate him.
Mm-hmm. Which is an acceptable person to hate.
Yeah.
I got family members who legitimately will not use a $20 bill.
Wild.
Yeah. It's a long running.
That's because of the new person they put on it, right?
Nope, it's because the old person they put on it.
Oh.
Because Andrew Jackson is, or like fucking General Sherman. Somebody I saw somebody on the great fucking internet that was like, they were like, ooh, Sherman really fucked up Georgia. I don't know why people are talking about General Sherman lately. I've seen it like multiple times, but they're like, ooh, we love Sherman. We love General Sherman. Ha ha, he fucked up all those fucking like slavery guys. Like, yeah, that's cool. Like, also, fuck the Confederacy. But people like love this guy. I mean, I just want to share with you a few quotes from our favorite fucking Civil War figure folk hero. Here's something that General Sherman said. He's a great guy. Personal friend of the show, General Sherman. We love him, and so do people on the internet. He said, and these are emphasis mine, or brackets mine, sick, as they say, SIC, mine, indigenous people. All indigenous people who cling to their old hunting grounds are hostile and will remain so till killed off. And then
Jesus.
He was also like, he was like, hey guys, I just flew in from Atlanta. Boy, am our arms tired. And then he said, during an assault, the soldiers cannot pause to distinguish between male, female, or even discriminate age. As long as resistance is made, death must be meted out. But the moment all resistance ceases, the firing will stop and all survivors turned over to the proper Indian agent.
Cool.
Hey, you know what else he said? He was like, my mom was Indian and my dad was Asian, so I get my sushi at the 7-Eleven. And then he also said, it is an inevitable conflict of races, one that must occur when a stronger gradually displaces a weaker.
Wow, so he is like old school racist.
And then he was like, "Am I right, ladies?"
He's like
Am I
fire
right,
and
ladies?
brimstone racist. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but we love him because he crushed the Confederacy.
Okay.
And then he was like, "What's the deal with the Bureau of Indian Affairs?" You know.
What's the deal with all these weak races?
You know his middle name was Tecumseh.
Gross.
Tecumseh. So he's like into BDSM. No, really, Tecumseh. The reason his middle name was Tecumseh was because there's like this famous like native figure that all the white people liked because he basically made peace during a particularly violent conflict, and a lot of white people really liked that.
Okay.
Because at the time, I guess they thought, that the white people the settlers could live with the indigenous people like in harmony or whatever.
Okay.
And of course, his middle name was that, and wow, he really does it proud, huh?
Sure.
I mean, it's like I recently saw this thing from fellow indigenous comrade that he was saying Uncle Tomahawk. I thought that was so fucking funny.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that was like I thought that was a good way to explain the mythology of Tecumseh.
All right.
Anyway,
So, since we still technically have some time left in this segment,
Jesus
let's talk
Lord.
about me for a moment. You went
Did you guys
to a
do that?
cool place and did some cool things, which is cool. But I also have some
you
stuff
so
going on in my life, too. The Little Italy Studios has migrated to the middle of Little Rock.
That's what's up.
But
bro.
it's still the Little Italy Studios.
Still at home.
Keeping the identity intact. It's a great spot, though. I fucking love it. Like, I moved out of my parents' house, which is lame, I know. But, like, I moved out, so that's cool, right? But, like, I moved into a place with, like, a pool. And I'm, like, setting up my pool table. And, like, the room is awesome and
He's
it's,
got
like,
a
very
pool.
well
He's
lit.
got a pool of ladies coming through.
Yeah, man. And we like to pool our resources and just
He's got a pool of barbecue sauce
And just
in
get
his beanbag chair
hella
that he
lit.
sits in.
Yeah, no, honestly, like, also the room did come with a giant beanbag chair, which I fucking love.
For which he puts barbecue sauce in.
Well,
And he dips his little chicky nuggies, his little chicky chicks. Sometimes he rubs it on his cat because I think his cat has like emphysema, or what is it called?
constantly horny disease.
Eczema.
That, yeah.
Do you know what eczema is?
I actually kind of have it.
What is it called?
Eczema?
Eczema. I did.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. No, well, I have like it's like a situation that's like similar to eczema, but it's
Nobody
psoriasis.
wants to
I
hear
have
about your
psoriasis.
skin rashes, bro. Tell us more
Anyway.
about your new house.
Yeah, my cat
Jesus,
is
bro,
slowly
you're scaring
adjusting
the
to it.
house.
She's starting to like really explore all the nooks and crannies. It's like a multi-level house, and there's currently one other roommate. There's gonna be like two more, but like she's adjusting to it, which is very cool. Like for the first day, she was very afraid and angry. You know, how cats do because they're like spatially, what's the word? Spatially anchored.
This man is fucking explaining cats to me.
Do you have a cat?
I am a cat.
I will go on. So
I literally am a cat.
But yeah, cats are very like anchored to the place versus people. I mean, they still
Why
have
are you
their
putting
people.
anchors on your cats, dude?
For the fun. And
You think that's fun? I'm calling it ASPCA.
No,
Who
but
is
actually-
it? Is it Enya that makes the song of the arms?
yeah,
of the
it's
angels?
definitely not Sarah McLachlan.
Okay. Just making sure.
Fun thing with cats though is like if you put a piece of tape on their back, like they freak the fuck out.
God, you're putting anchors, tape on your cats.
I mean, I've never done it, but I've seen it happen, and it's kind of fun.
yeah. What was that thing with the pickles?
Don't advocate it. Oh yeah, no, with cucumbers. Like you just set a cucumber next to a cat, and it's like
I'm sorry. What?
the cucumber. Are you trying to get me to say a word so you can say my nuts again?
No, I'm just curious. What what is it?
Pickle D's nuts. I don't know. No, like if you like
Yeah,
sneak.
that's not a good format.
Don't
for
do
the
that.
joke.
If don't pickle nuts. If you sneak a cucumber behind a cat, and they like.
Jesus, you're putting an anchor. You're taping.
I'm
and you're
literally
sneaking
explaining
your
to you.
cucumber in a cat.
I'm explaining to you a thing that
That
you
does
asked
not
me
make
to
me
explain.
Feel safe as a cat.
All right. So, if you sneak a cucumber behind a cat and they like don't realize it, and then they see it, they'll flip out because you snuck something behind them. It could happen with anything, but for some reason the trend happened
Yeah.
with cucumbers.
I think I would get freaked out if I saw a cucumber.
With a phantom piece of fruit. You know,
And you think a cucumber's a fruit?
It's got seeds.
And do you think a cucumber's a fruit?
Kinda, actually. Is it not?
And you think cucumber's a fruit?
Okay. Are you just gonna keep repeating that phrase until you find the Google answer that you're looking for?
Hey, insert Jamie here. Is a cucumber a fruit? Look that up. Yes, it is.
Oh,
A
so
cucumber is a botanical fruit.
so I was right.
Yeah, but I was also right because it's culinarily a vegetable.
Shut
Anyway.
up. All right. So, what are we talking about today? What's happened in the news recently?
Wait, hold on. Let me spin my topic wheel.
Sure, yeah. This is a very high level production, guys. So much value has gone into this production. There's a lot of moving parts.
Well, yeah, I mean, I bought this at a steampunk convention, and I've literally just been like trying to figure out a way to like use it. So I just took a bunch of Post-it notes and put it on there. So, the topic wheel looks like it's reading. Wait, hold on, it's stuck.
Shut the fuck
What
up.
the fuck? It's okay. It's stuck between the president of Haiti getting assassinated and the Donald Rumsfeld getting assassinated. No, I don't know. I was drunk when I wrote these Post-it notes. Anyway, I think Donald Rumsfeld died, so I'm just gonna go with that one.
It's hard to say which one of those is more like globally relevant. Probably the Haiti thing, but like Donald Rumsfeld's also way closer to home, so like people who listen to us probably would care more about that. Maybe.
Yeah, in the impact of, I think the impact of Donald Rumsfeld is more like it's been sort of like the effects of it. We can take a decent autopsy.
It's also an important retrospective
Donald
to
Rumsfeld.
have, considering who he was and what he did.
Yeah. Yeah. And also Donald Rumsfeld is way uglier than the president of Haiti, so I'd way rather shit on him. I mean, any opportunity I have to shit on white people is just like, let's go. Let's do it.
So for the sake of the listeners at home, I do think it would be a fun exercise just to go back and recall exactly who Donald Rumsfeld was and what he did and why we hate him.
I actually don't hate Donald Rumsfeld. I love him with all my heart.
Well, yeah, I know he's one of your role models, but
God. Okay. Well, I guess I can talk shit about my heroes. It's very easy for me to talk about my heroes in a bad tone. But we'll how about we do this? We'll take Teen Vogue's opinion.
sure, absolutely.
So, Teen Vogue, of course, this article is written by Lucy Diavolo, and of course the headline is Donald Rumsfeld, former defense secretary, and let me just put some asterisks, some emphasis, Teen Vogues on this. Accused war criminal, dead at 88. Rumsfeld is considered, this is the subtitle of this. Rumsfeld is considered an architect of the U.S. invasions in Afghanistan and Iraq. Now, of course, we're seeing the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan coming to a close. Let's hope. So the article starts out and it's just like some facts about the guy, and some polls saying quotes like, history may remember him for his extraordinary accomplishments over 6 decades of public service, but for those who knew him best and whose lives were forever changed as a result, we'll remember his unwavering love for his wife Joyce, his family and friends, and integrity he brought to a life dedicated to his country.
Oh, what a wholesome war criminal.
I know, isn't that nice? And then that was a quote, but Teen Vogue comes in with the heavy fucking hitters and says, how history will remember Donald Rumsfeld is an interesting question. According to the Department of Defense bio, Rumsfeld was a former Navy pilot, White House Chief of Staff, U.S. NATO Ambassador, Congressman, and CEO of 2 Fortune 500 companies by the time he became the Secretary of Defense.
Whoa. They allow people who are in charge of massive companies to be in governments? What?
I know. Isn't that so cool? Because they kind of know, they kind of know a little bit about how stuff kind of supposed to run. So
Yeah,
so
no,
they're
just
really
run the
good
government
at
like a
it.
business. That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So, according to the Atlantic, he spent part of his Reagan years working clandestine presidential security programs with Dick Cheney, another stalwart Republican power broker.
Dick.
Yeah, that's certainly why I was laughing for sure.
Yeah.
Cheney.
Anyway.
Yeah, following the September 11th attacks, Defense Secretary Rumsfeld became one of the primary architects of the U.S. invasions in Afghanistan and Iraq. I love that they circle back onto this is just good writing, folks. If you really are looking for good writing, Teen Vogue, seriously, is where to go.
All right, so it sounds like for this week's news segment, we are spotlighting Teen Vogue. So let's just get into it. What the fuck is up with them?
Fuck no, we're not doing Teen Vogue.
Of
Get
course
out
we
of
are.
here. No, we're doing fucking the Atlantic / Washington Post
All right.
because Teen Vogue is pulling in these heartfelt statements from these articles, but they got their own thing. They got their own opinions, right? So they continue on. In a 2011 book, Rumsfeld admitted that he made a misstatement about the confirmed presence of weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, for the apparently the stupid readers who can't take the initial letters of that in Iraq. And those are just facts, bro. There's no editorial shit going on right now. A major United Nations investigation, of course, never found any WMDs. The Guardian reported in 2004. A 2008 Center for Public Integrity article reported that a database of pre-war rhetoric found at least 935 false statements about the national security threat Iraq posed made by administration officials in the 2 years following, 109 of them by Rumsfeld. I mean, that's the whole thing with this guy, is that he was part of the whole, shoot first, ask questions later. I mean, Condoleezza Rice was in it. Fucking George Bush was in on it. I mean, Dick Cheney of Halliburton fame. Of course, not of vice president fame.
Like, even they knew they were lying. He was basically just like, come on. You know we want to invade.
Yeah.
We should just let us invade. Come on.
Also, in 2002, he signed a memorandum authorizing interrogation techniques, asking in a handwritten note why forcing detainees to stand was limited to only 4 hours a day. Standing doing nothing or standing doing work? Because I work regularly. I work like 10, 12 hours. Honestly, doesn't sound that bad. Of course, but they're detainees.
So that means they had free housing and food.
Yeah.
Weird take.
The U.S. burden. So, I mean, this guy. This is my favorite thing. They put this at the the end of the article in true Teen Vogue fashion. Concerned with who's hot or not, who's dating who. The gossip, the tea.
Yeah.
They said Rumsfeld was named sexiest cabinet member.
Oh, God, really? Are you
By
serious?
People magazine in 2002. Yeah, no shit.
Oh, jeez.
No shit. And I have to say, not sexy. I usually trust Teen Vogue on their determinations.
Well, they didn't claim him that. They said that he was.
UPI reported this. So, we really do look for outlets which report on defense news to tell us who the sexiest people in politics is.
Duh.
Yeah.
They would know.
Yeah.
Since we're not spotlighting Teen Vogue on this topic,
Yeah.
let's focus on who we are spotlighting.
So we're talking about the Washington Post.
Okay.
And if you don't know, now you know that the Washington Post, that's Jeff Bezos' paper. This
Really?
man owns the shit. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
No, yeah. Let's just.
I keep forgetting billionaires like to buy up media companies. It's like, do you really need that much of a platform? Like, you already have most of the money. So they're just paying big companies to, like, alter the news, presumably. Like,
Right.
why else would you want to
Right.
buy a media company like that? Like 10 times out of 10, it's always been for nefarious reasons.
Yeah, and he bought it for $250 million. So chump change, really.
Did you say Trump change?
Well, I didn't say that, but it could also be that. I mean, but yeah, it's owned by Nash Holdings LLC.
Okay.
Who's Nash? Don't know. Is that Johnny Cash's
Nephew?
cousin? Nephew?
Nephew of Cash.
I mean, this nephew has some cash. Jeff Bezos basically owns the Washington Post, even though it's through one of his not shady at all
Holdings
holding
companies.
I mean, it's in the name, you know. So why did he do that?
Not at all shady, homie. That's what Nash stands for.
No. Good pull, bro. Good
Yeah,
pull.
yeah.
Good pull. So let's just read. I wish that there were like views, like numbers of views on, just published for news articles, so we could see just how many, just like fucking idiots were like praying for his family. You know, shit
Yeah.
like, you know, like people from like Ohio, like Southern Ohio,
Like
that
a
are,
running, like a telethon running counter of like,
Yeah.
how many people mentioned
Right.
his war crimes? How many people mentioned his family?
Wouldn't that be so fun? I mean, that would just be a statistician's like dream.
Yeah.
But of course, we the unwashed public don't get that because God hates us, and so does the U.S. government. But I just wanna go ahead and this is real short. This is a real short. I wouldn't call it an obituary, but sort of a I don't know, in remembrance of, you know, when someone close to you dies on Facebook, everybody pours their opinions and hearts out about the person that died. But this has two contributors on this. I'm not going to focus on the first one because, to be honest with you folks, he has a very stupid name. Not that the other one doesn't have a stupid name, but it's a funny name. So we'll just go in on that guy. So it reads, the July 1st front page obituary on Donald H. Rumsfeld. And what does the H stand for?
Homies.
He dropped the ball. Nope, he dropped the ball. It stands for hellacious, as in how some of the fucking shit that he did was absolutely hellacious. Don't know what that word means. I'm reading from a dictionary. Divisive Pentagon chief oversaw 2 wars. Was a disappointing whitewash. Someone's mad that someone's calling out a war criminal. It contained not a single word about Rumsfeld's most significant use of his power in the government, justifying the invasion of Iraq on a pretext he knew to be false. The obituary also lacked any mention of the devastating consequences, hundreds of thousands dead. To gesture at these ugly truths through vague references to Donald Rumsfeld's notoriety is to be default on the Post duties as a paper of record. It's not a fucking paper of record. What the fuck is that? Bezos wishes it was a paper of record.
He wished they were the New York Times.
You took it right out of my mouth. You're right. And so, that was Matthew Dracoon. Cool name, actually. So, not a lame name. But the next part of this retrospective on Donald Rumsfeld's life, while Donald H. Rumsfeld's death is regrettable, he would say with candor, "These things happen."
What?
Yeah, no, I for readers at home, look at the context of that. Go inform yourself about this, and I'll keep moving on here. The July 1st front page obituary left out one of the most notorious acts he devised that was personally approved by him during the Iraq War, the enhanced interrogation techniques. So this guy's sort of, going in on the fact that he...
By the way, before the moment's gone, I just got to let you know, fucking pro-level podcaster moves. You just, like, glaze by a subject, and you're like, inform yourselves. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm taking a book out of a page. You know, I'm taking a whole book out of one page of a technique from conspiracy theorists who
do your
are
research.
Right and true.
Gotcha.
Okay, you're talking sarcastically, like you think that's not a good thing.
No.
I'm sorry.
Totally,
do you hate research?
Hey,
Do you hate research?
I have a T-shirt that says "Do your
What
research."
are your crimes? What have you done?
Crimes of humanity, mostly.
Yeah, I know. Which is why I host this podcast with you, because you need two different perspectives. You need the one angelic one, the one that has never done anything wrong, that is completely uncancelable, and the guy who hates research, who thinks that knowledge is stupid.
I actually have done some cancelable things. Let's not talk about that.
What the fuck?
I'm a stand-up comedian. I push boundaries.
Not good.
Not great.
We'll blow right past that.
We will. Thank you.
Under this shameful act of humanity, hundreds of unfortunate humans subjected to debasing, cruel, and vicious interrogations techniques in Abu Ghraib, as Ian likes to call it, Cell Phone City. He also likes to call it Cigarette City.
I mean, that's just what I call my room.
Cell Phone and Cigarette City.
Yeah.
We saw the pictures.
Well, Cell Phone
of the
City is the bathroom.
Bro, you just interrupted my reading.
Sorry, you're right.
I'm trying to do research, which I know you hate. So, moving right along, before I was so rudely interrupted.
Mommy hit daddy at the table again.
He did. That's right. He did slap me. We saw the pictures of the pages of the Post. That newspaper's dead. And Newsweek, about to be dead. And some on our TV screens. I do remember that when I was a kid. I do remember seeing people sitting there in like chains, and they were like this like lady with like a butch ass haircut was like smoking cigarettes, and that was a really formative moment for me, because I was like, oh my god, all lesbians are bad. No, I'm just kidding. But even today, the memory of the photos brings tears to my eyes. That was Eva J. Allen, which I'm maybe this is bad form, but I'm gonna assume that's a woman. And really just showing up the guys in this article. I mean,
Ava, probably a woman.
Yeah, I mean, just being very sensitive to what is essentially some serious and heinous examples of human suffering. So we got to give it up to the ladies for that one. But this brings me to the reason for this headline being Donald Rumsfeld's complicated legacy, because if you just would have quit the article just right there, you would have been like, oh yeah, Donald Rumsfeld was a huge piece of shit and deserves eternal torture. But of course, the Washington Post, friend of the show, Jeffrey Bezos, personal paper, everything that is written in this paper comes by his desk and he personally approves. They hit us with this just absolute banger right here. I was Donald H. Rumsfeld's political advisor in the U.S. delegation to the North Atlantic Council from 1973 to 1974. I regard his tenure at NATO as probably the high point of the role of the North Atlantic Council as a major league consultative mechanism. I mean, complete tone shift here, right?
Right.
He's everybody's singing his malfeasance, saying he's a huge piece of shit. And then some fucking guy comes along and says, yeah, I worked with him. Not so bad. Wasn't a bad
Pretty
guy.
much, yeah.
I liked him.
Honestly.
In fact, I think he made the thing that I worked for, NATO, actually pretty good. And I had a good time. Lots of dinner parties, lots of overthrowing of governments, and pretty much good stuff.
That seriously makes me just question the source of that quote, because that's literally like when a guy gets ousted as a rapist, and it's like some random dude friend of his, and he's like, oh, I know that guy, great guy. I don't think he would ever hurt anybody. Never hurt me.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you're picking up on that subtext there, because he continues on and says, rather than pursue U.S. diplomatic objectives bilaterally through I mean, just fucking what, dude? He's reading from the dictionary. I was joking earlier when I said I was reading from the dictionary. Mm-hmm. This man's literally reading from the dictionary.
All right, Eminem.
Fucking give us your best impression of a one-line Eminem song.
I've never even thought about this. I don't want to waste your time.
Dinosaur, fucking. I'm kicked out of the cipher. Fuck. The Long John Silver's podcast network is like, this guy didn't fuck with Eminem. He didn't fuck with Eminem.
I mean, I like Eminem. I'm just not a good improv person.
Oh, you're not a good improv person?
Not really, no.
Okay. he says this as he's taking UCB classes. I've literally driven this guy to the airport to send him off to LA to take classes at UCB, and he comes
Just
back.
because I want to learn doesn't mean I'm good at it.
Well, then you shouldn't be in the classes. Just saying.
So I shouldn't put myself in a position to get better to think I'm bad at.
No, you should just bury your dreams right now.
Okay.
We're doing a podcast.
All right, you sound a lot like my mom.
All right, so yeah,
I
I'm
wish
just
that was a
gonna
joke.
push on here and say the rest. I'm gonna embody Mr. James E. Goodbye, which really we should be saying goodbye to him. He's gonna die just like Rumsfeld. I mean, the guy's like 90 years
Also,
old.
just like me, just like you, just like my last cat. We're all gonna die,
Jesus, dude. That's heavy. No, fuck no. What the fuck?
No, we're all gonna live forever. It's great.
I'm gonna live forever.
Well,
Because
with your CIA fucking money, of course you are.
Yeah, yeah, like Henry Kissinger. He's fucking still alive.
What is he, like 200?
Well, I think it's more like 135.
All right, still.
But yeah, so Mr. Goodbye continues and says, rather than pursue the U.S. diplomatic objectives bilaterally through special representatives of the president, Rumsfeld perform within the frameworks established to support the North Atlantic Treaty, the famous O in NATO. A major achievement ridiculed at the time was an intensive, months-long effort to negotiate positions in preparation for the conference on security. I mean, again, what is he fucking reading from Wikipedia? Jesus Christ. What is he reading from the fucking dictionary? Bloody, 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 blah.
So what is the general tone of the article? They're obviously.
I mean, this motherfucker is just singing this motherfucker's praises about stuff that literally only like people who are in the diplomacy sphere of the United States give a shit about, because this is what he says. This is what he says at the end, and I'm just gonna, because the next two paragraphs are just him listing off what he thinks are achievements. And just a real quick grab from this, it was seen by critics as abandoning U.S. support for captive nations, in quotes, of Eastern Europe to escape Moscow's domination. I mean, this guy was reading straight from the fucking, Bible on this shit. Of course, the U.S. foreign policy Bible.
Right.
And then he caps off all of these long achievements that nobody in their right mind could care about unless you were a reader of the Washington Post. The ultimate result was the end of the Soviet Empire. The Soviet Empire. Shut the fuck up, dude. Rumsfeld was in on the takeoff as ambassador to NATO and in on the landing as chief of staff to President Ford. Historians should record, and let me Ian, run that back.
Historians should record.
Thank you. His role in changing the status quo in Europe as perhaps his greatest success. So the fucking thing that redeems this guy is supposed to be NATO. All of the shit that NATO did,
Which
we all know caused lots of fucking suffering and poverty that has still been tough for people to record, which is probably why people in Poland are pirating our podcast, because they think they still have to because of this shit. I mean, literally.
great callback.
Thank you. Master of the craft. I mean, the thing that's, I just want to take maybe just a few minutes more talking about why James E. Goodbye is really just a top class diplomat.
Well, okay. Alternative to that, what if we just take a step back and question why it would be in Jeff Bezos' best interest for his personal rag to be having this type of tone about Rumsfeld? Why the fuck does Jeff Bezos personally profit from the general public not recognizing war criminals?
Right. So the answer comes in two parts, I think, to me, because the first is that, and this is a classic rhetorical device if you want to convince people, if you want to influence people, is that you focus on the least and the most ambiguous terms of the neg side of what you're debating. Mm-hmm. And then you overwhelm people. There's a term or a sort of a phrase in my line of work.
So a red herring mixed with some ethos?
Yeah, and there's a line in my line of work that goes, if you can't dazzle, what is it? It's I can't even fucking remember.
If you
But
can't
it's like,
convince somebody, dazzle them.
yeah, if you can't dazzle someone with brilliance, blind them with bullshit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, and that's something that is
Your line of work.
yeah. Well, you know what? I could be talking about the quality industry, and I could be talking about my tenure as the resident influencer for the CIA. But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think it's a classic intelligence technique. They taught it to us at the academy. Don't. What is it? What is the thing? And this is why I'm so good / bad at this job, is that don't let the left hand know what the right is doing, or whatever. Watch. It's the sleight of hand. So
Right.
It's a rhetorical sleight of hand, because they're saying, yeah, he may have killed millions, hundreds of thousands, or whoever. He may have done some enhanced interrogation. But what is the real impact of that?
Also, I love that fucking whitewashing of waterboarding by calling it enhanced interrogation.
Yeah, and also the fact that they admitted
or just
to
torture.
that,
Just
and
use
also
the word
saying
torture.
the term whitewashing. They're drawing on people who are either unscrupulous, easily duped, or have an agenda and are naive enough to believe that they're going to push their agenda while working for Jeff Bezos' paper, to put the least of his crimes. Because really, in a macro view, the economic impact of all of these things and it has caused more suffering than the initial horrific nature of war. Because when anti-war people are anti-war, it's not just because of human suffering, unless they're, I don't know, weird hippies that think that any violence is wrong. But people who are concerned with geopolitics, I mean, a lot of times the real impact is even worse and prolonged and protracted than the initial effervescence of war. The thing that happens, the poverty, the starvation,
the governmental instability.
Yeah, all of. I mean, just look at
instability.
Afghanistan. I mean, this guy, he's the fucking architect of that, as Teen Vogue so poignantly tells us, and that's the real fucking thing. But of course, the neg side of this is not focusing necessarily on that. And if they were to start doling out statistics and talking about, well, that would just be bad for business. They're talking about not the economic impact, because that would be bad for business. They're talking about the horrifying, the tangible effects, the micro effects, or maybe not so micro, but the things that immediately are confronted to a country in war in the early stages, and not so much the fact that they can't get their shit together because a foreign country has been occupying their shit for 30 fucking years.
Yeah.
And then they go on to this fucking indoor baseball discussion of what some fucking diplomat has done
for a room
redeem
full of
him.
other diplomats. Like, it's literally just a circle jerk.
Exactly. That's the what is that fucking title of that book? Repetition and Difference. Right? Is that it? Is that the name of it?
Well, a good friend of mine likes to say, "What you allow will continue."
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, difference and repetition. I'm not going to pretend like I know what the fuck that means or who wrote that, but there's something rattling around in the old brain about that. So, what is that? Giles, Heles,
Deluge?
Deluge.
Deluge?
Sure, whatever fuck his name is.
Giles Deluge?
He's French, so his opinion really doesn't matter. If you don't read his shit, don't read his shit. If you read his shit, I don't care. I'm drinking a beer. I'm chilling. I'm grilling. Fuck it.
That's a very small grill you brought, by the way. It's weird.
Yeah, it's really tiny, and honestly, it's only big enough for half a hot dog. But I'm eating it, and you're getting none.
All right. Okay, so that happened. I don't know how else to.
That's what somebody says when they are so confused. Did you learn anything? Were you listening?
No, I was absolutely listening.
What did you learn?
I learned.
Just recap it for me.
I I learned that Rumsfeld was a diplomat.
That is the takeaway.
Yeah.
And I want our listeners to definitely take that. I want that to be the takeaway.
Yeah. And clearly he did some things that other people who were in power found favorable, which, of course, that's literally what they're there for, just to enrich their friends, right?
Right.
And that there is a news publication out there who is spinning it in a positive light.
Oh, I just wanted to add real quick. I mean, we could dedicate a whole episode to talking about why James E. Goodbye, is a bad guy. Goodbye,
bad guy.
Gadbye.
And what the fuck? How do you spell his name? Are you just making this up?
No, really, his name is G00DB4. Oh, sorry, I had my language translator plug-in for Google Chrome that does NetSpeak. No, really, it is G0. Hold on, let me turn
That's
this
the
off.
name of the writer for this.
Yeah,
article?
I think he's like Elon Musk's like cousin.
They're letting like anonymous internet trolls write articles.
Well, the thing is we don't have a naming convention board like they have in Iceland here, so you can literally name your kid.
I mean,
anything.
I understand. Well, I guess I understand like the necessity for anonymity as a journalist.
No, his name is literally James Goodbye.
Oh, okay. So you were just making up the
Yeah,
numbers
he's
there.
like 91 years old.
So
He was born in 1929 in
Are you
Providence,
serious?
Rhode
Rhode Island.
Island. He went to Harvard University and currently is a non-recent senior fellow at the Center for Northeast Asian Policy Studies at the Brookings Institute.
Northeast Asian Policy Study.
And
That's
an
a very
Edinburgh Distinguished Visiting Fellow at
very
the Stanford
specific
University's
study.
Hoover Institution. So, really qualified guy.
interesting.
Yeah. You want to talk about something else?
Yes, I do.
He's like getting antsy. He's like, oh my god. Oh. I feel like my worldview is getting debased.
Oh no, yeah. Okay, well that is what it is. But also, I really just want to get to the reason why I fucking sounded like a pirate at the beginning of this. Like, why was that a thing?
You said it, not me. That was all you, man. You came up with that. No, okay, yeah, that's a good point. Today I was coming to you from the Little Italy studios, and I'm talking about biopiracy.
Biopiracy.
Biopiracy. And
So
biopiracy.
is that when, like a hacker like plugs into your neck and like steals your karate skills?
Right, and then you say, "Whoa,
Yeah.
I know karate." Well, maybe he says no.
Right.
I feel like I know karate.
Sorry, you were literally in the middle of explaining it, but I just still felt the need to be like, "What's that?" Because like, what the fuck is that? You know?
Yeah, it's weird. It almost sounds futuristic, right? It sounds like some sci-fi shit. No, it's real. It's real world shit. I mean, maybe the best way to introduce this is by talking about one of our sponsors today.
Which is
Monsanto.
Oh,
So, Monsanto, providing you with the genes for life. Monsanto, a generous sponsor, has done a lot of really good things for the community. It's done good things for farmers. And, you might see an article that says, "Why does everybody hate Monsanto?" And I'm like,
because they're awesome.
because they're awesome. They're jealous. No, I'm just kidding. This has all been a bit brought to you by Monsanto. So biopiracy is sort of the idea that intellectual property rights, the core of this is that intellectual property rights can be applied to biological beings, biological things, right?
So like a patent on a gene.
Right. So you can, and patent trolls notwithstanding, you can go and maybe you've developed some biotechnological thing that is novel, right? It's easily processable through novel techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And Monsanto is a company that thrives off of this idea, right? That you can patent biological things,
Okay.
right? So one of the things they've done before is they've genetically enhanced certain plants that are agriculturally and economically important, and they will sue you if they find that you have done some kind of agricultural science to make their developments your own.
So I have seen like some stuff about them in this regard, like a documentary too. It was probably on like Food Inc. or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like, they're so like stingy with their like patents and shit that like if one farm has like Monsanto seeds and the next farm over doesn't, and like the wheat, literally like, the wind blows
Mm-hmm.
some Monsanto bullshit over
Yeah.
into the non-Monsanto field, that other farmer can and will get sued by Monsanto
Yeah.
for growing them without permission.
Yeah.
Is this at all what you're talking about?
It's very close, and I breached this subject because I think that Monsanto and their predatory corporate practices, business practices, have sort of invaded our popular imagination. As a brand ambassador for Monsanto, I'm here to tell you that genetic. I'm just fucking kidding. God damn it. Everybody fucking hates Monsanto. I mean, can we be fucking honest? That is 100% true what you're saying. And yeah, they have fucking ruined, they've ruined people's lives, and they've ruined the food system a million times. But that was just sort of an introduction to what I think is a deeper issue, is that my personal opinion is that biological things cannot be patented.
Yeah.
Biotechnology regardless. But we live in the real world, and that's an idealist position.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that being said, I want to talk about biopiracy as it's used, not as Monsanto being a patent troll, but take that same idea and apply it to the thousands, hundreds, if not more years that indigenous people have been using and plants as ways to cure their ailments, as new. I mean, think about the potato, right? The reason we have potatoes, sweet potatoes, whatever, is literally due to a biotechnological science that was captured by indigenous people in South America using.
Well, I mean, what do you mean? Because like the reason it was cultivated is just because it's like a easily grown, nutrient dense food item.
But did it start out easily grown and nutrient dense?
I don't know.
No, it did not actually. If you know anything about botany, you know that Solanaceae, which is the family that tomatoes, peppers, potatoes come from, as we grow them today, and certainly before today, they're very persnickety. They like very specific. I mean, if you've ever tried to grow plants from this family, like peppers, tomatoes, potatoes, they're plagued with they're very particular about how much water they like. They're very particular about how much sun they like. I mean, I one time I grew peppers with some fucking Miracle Grow fucking like container garden soil that you're supposed to put in there, and they just got too much calcium, and the leaves like turned all yellow and shit. They're persnickety.
Okay.
But it's because of indigenous people utilizing long growing cycles of test farms. I mean, you can drive in any back road flyover state, and their local university system will have agricultural satellite, experiments going on.
Mm-hmm.
Indigenous people were doing that with this particular genus, which made it explode with the Columbian Exchange or whatever.
So like the
call it.
whole concept of like selective farming and like the ways that make it doable We're all because of
indigenous people, indigenous and genius. I mean, like innovation. I mean, potatoes are. I would hazard a guess that potatoes were so complete in the nutrition that they provide and why they caught on so heavily because indigenous people made them that way. They were doing science and not recording it, which brings me to the requirement of U.S. patent laws when it comes to these kinds of inventions.
Okay.
Right? There are three major categories which patents of this nature are required to have. They must be new or novel. They must be non-obvious, which maybe is an ambiguous term.
right.
And they must be useful. Right? And this to start off the rest of this, I want to just say something that I love to troll people with. That I love to like upset people with. You know, as a scientist, I love to bother people and say science is racist. There's this one guy I know, and I think he actually listens to the podcast. So, like, if you're out there, science is racist. I upset him so much one time. We were just like going at it. I mean, like we do. And it's a thing I say half in jest and half in reality because the history of science is so caught up in a textual tradition that requires a certain standard of record keeping and procedural adherence that
The scientific method.
but the scientific method was being followed by the people that brought you potatoes from the people who brought you potatoes. And the problem of this is starting with the first category is that newness or novelty requirement, right? Is defined by the U.S. patent law as something that is known or used by others in this country or patented or described in a printed publication, emphasis mine, in this or a foreign country. So printed publications, what the U.S. patent laws consider printed publications is selectively enforced, first of all. Two, printed publications do not account for, even if indigenous people had printed publications, which in some respects they did, but also oral traditions, which is not considered printed publications, U.S. patent law would not recognize it because U.S. patent law is based on precedent since the beginning of the start of this country or other foreign countries. Considering colonialism as a force that loots and pillages knowledge from others,
Yeah.
Patent law cannot be upheld in a situation where, let's say, a tribe is trying to come at a company because they have to prove that the novelty of a patent that a, for example, pharmaceutical company has is not infringing on something they already have. They have no written publications to do so, unless they wrote it predating the patent. So how can they do that? They should have already, to be able to have a legal case, they should have already figured this stuff out before it was stolen from them. So what's the foresight there? I mean, how are they going to do that? The second category.
So,
Yeah.
what specifically is being pirated?
Right.
Just out of curiosity.
This is a good question because in my mind, and I think in a lot of back to earth natural hippie types, you can't patent nature.
Right.
But yet the U.S. government has allowed companies to patent nature. So we must work in that reality, not from the idealist position, and realize that uh, things being patented, which you're asking what are those things? Genetic sequences, processes for growing things. So, in this case, let's say for biotechnology, when it comes to growing things, I'm sure Monsanto could say, we, I don't know if you ever played the old Harvest Moon games, but the most efficient way to plant was always in a C shape with a dot. Okay. So you could like water everything effectively. If you've ever played Stardew Valley, there's a certain shape that you plant things in to get maximum flow from your sprinklers onto the right crops, or so that you can walk the least amount of steps. It's just like that. It's real life really is just like that. You make small changes and you can get patent law on your side. As long as you can prove that the thing that came before you was less efficient than the thing that you're doing now, and that you've only made a slight alteration. In fact, patents always cite old patents that have come before them as saying, "Look how we're different, so we deserve the rights that people don't do the same thing we do."
Okay.
Now, how can you do that when your records are either one, not in the same language that is considered a nation?
Right.
So if indigenous people wrote down things in a non-majority language in a publication that is not spoken by the rest of the world, and a publication that's in a language not spoken by the rest of the world, how can you say that that's published? Or if it's an oral tradition, okay, then how can you say that that's published? You can't, and so you lose that case. And there's multiple parts of this or cases of this happening in lots of precedents. Like, for example, this is not necessarily an indigenous thing, but in the example of non-obvious requirements for products of nature, the U.S. Supreme Court case Diamond v. Chakrabarty held that a live human-made microorganism is patentable subject matter under statute providing for issuance of patent to person who invents or discovers any new or useful manufacture or composition of matter. So this is just an example of the language that is it's both ambiguous and restrictive, which makes a system which is fundamentally against the existence of indigenous people and their rights to what they've already established, makes it even worse, it compounds it.
Damn.
I want to take you through one particular case because I think I've talked a little bit too much about the requirements of the patent. I want to take you out of North America and take you to Africa to explain the case of Cassia amara, which is a plant. And this comes to you from an interesting website called conversation.com. And they say, exactly what can be patented for how long and by whom differs between legal frameworks, which causes much confusion for researchers, governments, and traditional local peoples, aka indigenous peoples, whether they be nations of North America or colonized people in other places. Recently, a biopiracy case surfaced between the French Institute of Development Research and local officials in French Guiana, an overseas department and former colony of France. Again, colonization. This dispute exemplifies several common misunderstandings in biopiracy, which, by the way, I should add at this point, some people who are not so against this practice call it bioprospecting.
Huh.
Yeah. And in recent times, to avoid, because the UN actually, for as little as it's worth, stepped in and tried to kind of combat these things in the 90s, right?
Interesting.
I can't remember the exact name, but I think it's like the UN proposed like the UN Convention on like natural products or something like that to provide a framework for what is allowed to be lifted from other places and what is allowed to be given as remuneration for these things.
I like your phrasing, though. Lifted is pretty...
Yeah, it's stolen.
Yeah.
That's why we call it biopiracy instead of bioprospecting. And a lot of international pharma companies actually responded to this and instead turned away from the idea that we use natural products to derive drugs from, and instead are using combinatorial chemistry. Combinatorial chemistry does things like puts fucking fluorine substituents on things where fluorine substituents don't need to be. They put three-membered, highly constrained, highly energetic rings that make chemicals very unstable because they load their chemical libraries with this stuff.
I gotta tell you, I know what none of those last two sentences meant.
So basically, what they're doing is they're making chemical modifications to already existing chemicals.
What is this?
Bioprospecting.
No.
Sorry.
The thing you're talking about now.
Pharma designing drugs.
Okay.
They use a high throughput chemical library of little pools, little vats of different permutations of a central chemical that they've derived from indigenous people, ostensibly, or some other source, that they put little pieces that are different on that core. It's like Legos, right? You have the thing you want to do. You build a Lego spaceship that does the Lego thing you want it to do. And you want to make it look cool and optimize it for the thing you want it to do. So you put little fancy pieces on it. There's fancy pieces that you find in the Lego bin that are just,
From
they're
old
normal.
specific kits.
Yeah, they're just kind of they're from things you've collected over the years that are normal, that are typical, that will cause no structural problems. And then you've got these long plastic rods that you've got from some special kit that you robbed from wherever the fuck, and you just picked it off the shelves. And if you touch it wrong, it'll all make it break because the weight is unbalanced. It's kind of like bioprospecting and its reaction to it, because people are putting things that are bad for your liver, that don't actually make the drug more effective. They just make it circumventing copyright laws and IP laws. And also what the pharmaceutical industry in relation to biopiracy has tried to turn away from, which is just trying a million different permutations of a chemical so that they get the one that's most effective. Sometimes that's not believe it or not, their most important aspect of this, but one that doesn't interfere with this UN Convention on Natural Products, one that doesn't violate any patents. So they are more willing to hurt your internal organs so that they don't have to remunerate indigenous people for traditions, medical traditions that they've had for a long time.
Do you remember K2?
Yeah.
And
this is a great
and like that
example
whole
of
like wave of synthetic weeds that came out one after another because they kept getting like shot down legally, and they would just like come up with a different composition.
Yep.
This sounds exactly like that, but with the extra steps.
But with the extra step being, we hate indigenous people and we're not giving them money.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah. So to just wrap this up with the rest of this case example. French researchers conducted interviews in French Guiana to find out about local anti-malarial remedies. So they literally put feelers out there using indigenous people's knowledge that has been developed in a place where malaria has existed for a long time. The preliminary research was published in 2005, and 10 years later, a patent was granted for a new compound from the plant Cassia amara, which had anti-malarial properties. Researchers found the compound not from traditional preparations of the plant in a tea, but from alcohol-based extraction methods. Thus, in the European scientific tradition, the compound did not come from the traditional Guyanese methods, but was discovered by scientists. Nonetheless, it was local to Guyanians and their plant knowledge that led scientists to examine Q. amara and not thousands of other plants. According to the new implemented laws, agreements should have been made before the research even began. And now French Guiana and IRD are entering into discussions to form a retroactive agreement. So the French are doing it right, but most pharma companies don't, because instead of using something as simple as changing the extraction method, they use combinatorial chemistry to circumvent these laws. Because
It's like the K2 example might have been an extreme one though, because like
No, it's very fitting. It's
yeah,
exactly
but,
what they
but
do.
like, when that was going down, I even thought to myself at the time, like, fuck all of that, because like they're not even like technically marketing it for human consumption, so that they don't have to like make it safe in any way, short of like literally immediately killing people when they smoke it. So like, I just did not trust that shit because there's no
Yeah.
telling like
Once
what the fuck they put in there.
JWH 018 and 054 went out the door, it was fucking the Wild West.
And like, I had a lot of friends who had terribly negative experiences with
Seizures.
that shit. Seizures,
50-minute highs
yeah,
in quotes,
like
but it was just
psychotic
having
spiraling,
yeah.
even like
Yeah.
that was all dangerous. It was so bad.
Yeah, but when we look at pharmaceutical companies and how they falsify, I mean, and this comes down to, and this is really my belief as a chemist, as a full believer in the power of the modern pharmacopoeia, as someone who is very much interested in pharmaceutical design and pharmacology and pharmacodynamics as legitimate fields. I think it really comes down to a difference in outlook as far as how medicine is supposed to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's cheaper to create a stolen treatment that will bring back money years and years and years and years instead of isolating a compound, instead of creating a whole medicine that can prevent and cure things, right? And something that is a part of daily life, that is connected to the land, that is connected to your culture, that has medicinal properties, that can be revisited when needed, and are part of daily life.
So it sounds like the pharmacy industry is running a little bit like the music industry. How like the phrase "change a bit, make a hit." They just take a successful song and like tweak one thing so they can legally use it, and then just like run off that shit rather than like creating something from scratch that's good.
That's exactly what sumatriptan is. Or not sumatriptan, but the story of it, how it became what it is now. You know, sumatriptan was brand name Amitrex.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken it. I take rizatriptan. I have debilitating migraines.
So what is it? A migraine medication?
Yeah, I have debilitating migraines. I take rizatriptan now, but sumatriptan was the thing that I first tried when I realized I had migraines at like, I think it was like 13 or 14.
Oh jeez.
My mom gets them, and she gave one to me, and I was just like, what the fuck? This shit really works. She had a thing with her doctor where they were like, hey, you have to try this new thing. You have to try this new thing. And I went and looked it up. I did a literature review that ended up being like, Jesus Christ, it was like fucking 70 pages when I took biochemistry in school.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you know I was in a high caliber program and you can trust me. So what they did is they basically took sumatriptan, which is an old migraine drug that is the gold standard, and they've created a bunch of extra drugs that work maybe better, maybe worse, maybe have specific applications off of that general form, right? The triptan. It's a structure that has a shape that they start adding things to through combinatorial chemistry or through rational drug design, where you do studies to figure out the certain things that you're doing. But an example of what you're talking about, where people just sort of reformulate things, they took sumatriptan and they noticed that it is potentiated by a common NSAID, naproxen sodium. That's what I take for most of my pain.
Potentiated?
Yeah, it makes it better. It makes it work better.
Okay.
It is better than the sum of its parts.
Okay.
And they patented it. A smart pharmaceutical company beat out everybody else, paid attention to the research way sooner, and was quicker to the punch. And they were able to take two things you can get for pennies on the dollar, over the counter, and make them into a prescription-only drug that the doctors give you as a first-line defense.
So, obviously, that one is going to be way more expensive than what those two things were.
Yeah, it's $200 a pill versus
Christ.
like 30 cents a pill, $2 a pill.
And so this, like, the thing they found out about it, the way they found it, was definitely something that other companies could have found easily in the course of regular study.
Yeah.
But they were just the first ones.
Yeah.
So they really need to like revisit that obviousness clause.
Yes, they do. Patent law is bloated, and I would suggest. I mean, we're kind of running out of time to really talk about this, but from an angle of appropriation of indigenous knowledge, one of the best resources to sort of break down why patent law is not only stupid as fuck for this particular application, but stupid as fuck in general. And you guys are gonna love this. It starts out with a George W. Bush quote. The article is "Biopiracy: The Appropriation of Indigenous Peoples' Cultural Knowledge" by Marcia Ellen DeGreer. I don't know what journal it came out in, but it's something that's taught in it's taught in the IP law curriculum at University of New Hampshire. So you can go to, I mean, definitely look up the title of this, and write in ipmall.law.unh.edu with space in Google with the title of this. And this is a good quote too, that they start out with by George W. Bush. If the United States is to open its wallets, poor nations must open their markets. If they undertake political, legal, and economic reforms, Washington will help them trade their way to prosperity. To be serious about fighting poverty, we must be serious about expanding trade. Greater access to the markets of wealthy countries has a direct and immediate impact on the economies of developing nations. And that's when we say nations, we don't just mean the United States and third world countries, people from overseas. The looting and pillaging of indigenous ways and indigenous traditions is right here.
That literally just sounds like a fucking threat. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you want us to help you, right? Give us your shit.
Imperialism, colonialism, and the looting of traditional ways of existing and fucking knowledge is all connected, right? And biopiracy is just one aspect of why the pharmaceutical companies not only sell you poison, but sell you cures. It's the carrot and the stick plus colonialism.
Shit. Plus colonialism. Even better.
Which makes it really fun.
Yeah.
For me, personally, as a complete believer in the United States model of freedom. God bless.
God bless.
God bless. And salute to our troops.
Do you think that's a good stopping point?
Yeah. I think for anybody interested, go look up the article, and hope that was a good introduction.
So it is good to be back. It's been a few weeks. You went on vacation. I was moving. We were both pretty busy with life. But I'm glad we're back, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to keep this momentum going, man.
We do. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter.
Yes.
Show all of your friends.
Yes.
Spread us around the Twitterverse if you can, if you care. If you don't care, do it out of hatred,
Yeah. And hit us on the line. What's the line?
What's the line?
Gmail? The email?
discoursepodcast@gmail.com.
Yep. And
is also there.
On Twitter.
I think Twitter's definitely a better, easier, more accessible, less annoying way.
DM us pictures of your grills. DM us picture of your cats. DM us when you think we're wrong, and DM us when you think you're right.
No, don't
you're
even DM
right,
us. Like, publicly tweet at us so that we can be wrong in public.
Quote, retweet. Also, I do want to say, since we are coming from the Little Italy Studios, I think, what is it, October 3rd, we are going to be at the Little Italy 94th annual spaghetti dinner. It is takeout only, but I'm sure we can find some fucking park nearby to just bullshit in. So if you want a real life meet up with us,
I really hope Mama Gabagool's there.
Oh, Mama Gabagool's cooking up the shit every single time. So this year's theme is post-apocalypse. So yeah, it's October 3rd at St. Francis of Assisi Church, So it's going to be a while. It's going to be a couple months, but we're hoping the pandemic calms down. 94th annual spaghetti dinner. Come see us. 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Takeout only, but we can plan a meetup and I'll go get our takeout meals. It is like I said, post-apocalypse theme, so we're doing a wolf meat gravy and cricket flour spaghetti with a roasted grub on a stick. So get your meals.
With a roasted grub on a stick. I actually have eaten grubs before.
It doesn't surprise me.
No, I was cooking at a kitchen in Thailand, and like one of the dudes that worked there, he was Burmese. Or
like
no,
the snake?
no, yeah, no. But what's the actual? They changed their name. It's not Burma anymore. It's
Myanmar.
Yeah, they made Myanmaris.
The fuck,
I don't know.
Myanmaris?
I don't know words. But they had like a bunch of fucking grubs, and they like fried them up, and they intently watched me try them, and they were fine. I mean, they weren't great. I wouldn't eat them again, but I could eat them. They weren't great. Whatever. I don't know why I brought that up. I've eaten grubs.
He's trying to he's telling you guys he has an adventurous palate.
No, I'll try anything.
Would you try sug undies?
No, what's that?
Sug undies nuts.
Didn't see that coming at all. Good comedic timing, though. It was a good way to bring it back.
Yeah, so fucking follow the Twitter, send a Gmail, eat the spaghetti. Let's go.
And naturally, this is going to be... I'm going to edit this down, but it's going to be a longer episode than usual. Or at least, longer than most. But tell us how you feel about that. Tell us if you like it to be shorter, if you like it to be longer.
Tell us if you like the bullshit at the end or the beginning.
Or both,
Or both.
We could split it up. We could, shorten it up at either end, Anyway, yeah. We love feedback and we want it. Even if it's bad. Especially if it's bad.
All right, turn this shit off. We're out.
All right.
We out.
Thanks for listening, everybody.